In a shocking revelation, former President Joe Biden has been diagnosed with stage 4 cancer that has metastasized to his bones just 4 months after leaving the White House. This distressing news has led to a wave of speculation about Biden's health, particularly regarding the validity of the optimistic portrayals made by Democratic leaders and the media during his presidency. The juxtaposition of Biden's current health crisis against the backdrop of previous assertions of his vitality raises critical questions about transparency and accountability within the political landscape. Notably, Biden had been depicted as active and robust ahead of the 2024 election, with Democratic Party officials asserting he was fit for another term as he approached his 82nd birthday. In February 2024, White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre dismissed concerns about Biden's cognitive abilities, claiming he passes a cognitive test every day. However, this narrative began to unravel during a pivotal debate with Republican candidate Donald Trump, where Biden's performance prompted widespread concern regarding his readiness for office. Observers noted significant signs of cognitive decline, which were later corroborated by audio released from interviews conducted by special counsel Robert Hur. The recordings revealed Biden struggling with recall and experiencing long pauses, further fueling doubts about his capacity to serve effectively. The Democratic Party now faces scrutiny over its handling of Biden's health issues. In light of the recent developments, many are questioning when party leaders recognized the extent of his cognitive decline and why they proceeded with a debate against Trump despite evident concerns. As Nicole Russell, an opinion columnist for USA Today, pointed out, voters deserve answers regarding the decisions made by the party's leadership. When did Democratic leaders know that Biden was incapable of serving a second term? She asked, emphasizing the need for honesty in political discourse. This sentiment resonates with many constituents who feel misled. The forthcoming book, Original Sin, authored by journalists Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson, promises to shed light on the internal dynamics that contributed to this situation, revealing how efforts to conceal Biden's health issues may have compromised the integrity of the electoral process. While it is natural to sympathize with Biden and his family amid this health crisis, the implications extend beyond personal concern. Vice President J.D. Vance articulated a critical perspective: "We really do need to be honest about whether the former president was capable of doing the job." This sentiment underscores a broader concern that the political machinery surrounding Biden may have prioritized power retention over the public's right to know about the health and capabilities of its leaders. As the Democratic Party grapples with these revelations, it raises questions about its future. The internal conflicts and the apparent erosion of democratic norms within the party, highlighted by Bernie Sanders during his 2016 campaign, showcase a troubling trend. The party's reliance on superdelegates and perceived biases within the Democratic National Committee (DNC) has long been a point of contention, leading to calls for reform that have yet to fully materialize. Looking ahead, the Democratic Party must confront its internal challenges and restore trust with its constituents. The upcoming electoral landscape will test whether the party has learned from its past mistakes or whether it remains entrenched in a model that prioritizes elite control over democratic engagement. As Biden navigates his health crisis, the implications for the party and the broader political environment will unfold, shaping the narrative of American democracy in the years to come. In a significant shift in the political funding landscape, Elon Musk, a prominent figure in the tech world and a major donor to the Republican Party, has announced his intention to drastically reduce his political spending. This decision comes at a time when the Republican Party is grappling with internal divisions over fiscal policy and the implications of its proposed budget legislation, which is already stirring controversy. Musk, who has previously made headlines for his substantial contributions to conservative causes, stated in a recent interview that he would be spending a lot less on political campaigns going forward. His announcement raises questions about the future of financial backing for Republican candidates, particularly as the party navigates the complexities of a budget proposal championed by former President Donald Trump. With Musk's withdrawal from the financial fray, the Republican Party may find it more challenging to rally support for its initiatives amid a broader economic climate that experts warn could lead to increased national debt. The backdrop to Musk's announcement is Trump's ambitious budget plan known colloquially as the One Big Beautiful Bill. This sweeping proposal aims to extend the tax cuts from Trump's first term while implementing significant spending cuts, particularly to healthcare programs such as Medicaid. The bill has sparked fierce debates within the Republican Party, highlighting the stark contrasts between fiscal conservatives pushing for deeper cuts and moderates concerned about the impacts on vulnerable populations. Trump's push for the bill, which aims to raise the national debt by an estimated $4.8 trillion over the next decade, has faced resistance from a faction of House Republicans who argue that it does not go far enough in addressing the deficit. According to independent analyses, the bill's tax provisions would lead to a significant increase in the budget deficit, further complicating an already precarious fiscal situation. The Congressional Budget Office estimates that more than 10 million Americans could lose Medicaid coverage due to proposed restrictions, a move that has drawn criticism even from within the party. As Trump rallied support on Capitol Hill, he faced dissent from several Republican lawmakers who have expressed concerns about the potential fallout from cuts to essential services. Without this bill, we would face huge tax increases, Trump asserted, attempting to frame the legislation as a necessary step for economic growth. However, moderates within the party warned that the proposed cuts, especially to healthcare, could jeopardize their chances in the upcoming midterm elections. Amid these tensions, Musk's retreat from political spending could send ripples through Republican fundraising efforts. The tech magnate's financial influence has been a significant asset in prior election cycles, and his withdrawal may leave a void that other donors will need to fill if the party hopes to maintain its momentum. Looking ahead, the Republican leadership faces the daunting task of uniting its members behind a budget that many see as essential for the party's future, while also addressing the concerns of constituents who may be adversely affected by proposed cuts. As debates continue, the impact of Musk's decision to curtail political contributions may become increasingly evident, affecting not only individual campaigns but also the broader strategic landscape of the Republican Party. The coming weeks will be critical as the House prepares to vote on the budget, and all eyes will be on how Republican lawmakers balance internal pressures with the need to present a unified front on fiscal policy. Without a cohesive strategy, the party risks not only losing legislative battles but also alienating the very voters they aim to serve. In a pivotal moment for U.S. fiscal policy, the Senate Appropriations Committee convened on May 20, 2025. To review President Biden's budget request for the Department of Health and Human Services (HHS) for the fiscal year 2026. This review comes at a time when public health initiatives and economic recovery efforts are at the forefront of national discourse. With the HHS budget being a critical component in addressing healthcare accessibility, mental health support, and social services, the stakes are high. Chair Shelley Moore Capito presided over the hearing, which featured testimony from HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. The session was particularly focused on the implications of the proposed budget cuts and reallocations, which some experts argue could undermine critical health programs. The health and well-being of our citizens should be our utmost priority, Kennedy stated, urging the committee to consider the long-term impacts of budget reductions on public health. As the discussion unfolded, committee members highlighted various aspects of the budget, including funding allocations for mental health services, pandemic preparedness, and healthcare access for underserved populations. Senator Jeanne Shaheen raised concerns about the potential repercussions of cutting essential programs, stating the proposed cuts could disproportionately affect the most vulnerable communities who rely on these services for their survival. Her remarks reflect a broader apprehension among lawmakers regarding the sustainability of health services in light of economic constraints. The hearing comes on the heels of a contentious political climate with contrasting views on the federal budget's role in public health. While some senators advocate for increased funding to bolster health initiatives, others argue for fiscal restraints, citing the need to manage national debt. This ideological divide is expected to shape the final budget negotiations as lawmakers weigh the immediate needs of constituents against long-term economic stability. Beyond the budgetary implications, the hearing is also indicative of shifting priorities within the federal government. As the Biden administration seeks to address systemic health disparities exacerbated by the COVID-19 pandemic, the proposed budget reflects an attempt to balance urgent health needs with fiscal responsibility. We cannot afford to lose sight of our commitment to the health of all Americans, particularly as we emerge from a global health crisis, Kennedy emphasized, underscoring the urgency of the situation. The impending decisions by the Senate Appropriations Committee will not only influence the HHS budget but also set the tone for future healthcare legislation. Observers are keenly watching how the committee will reconcile differing viewpoints and whether it will prioritize immediate health needs over fiscal caution. As negotiations progress, the potential for amendments and adjustments remains, with advocates on both sides of the aisle pushing for their respective agendas. Looking ahead, the outcome of this budget review will likely reverberate throughout the healthcare landscape, shaping policy decisions and funding opportunities for years to come. The committee's deliberations will be a critical factor in determining whether the U.S. can effectively address ongoing health challenges while navigating the complexities of federal budgeting. As the Senate prepares for future votes, the discourse around the HHS budget will remain a significant focal point in the broader conversation about America's health and economy. In an unfolding political landscape marked by strategic maneuvering ahead of the 2026 congressional elections, two prominent figures, Representative Jared Golden from Maine and State Representative Shannon Byrd from Colorado, have recently declared their intentions to vie for re-election and contend for congressional seats, respectively. Their decisions reflect broader themes of party alignment, voter engagement, and the intense competition that characterizes American politics today. Congressman Jared Golden, who has represented Maine's 2nd congressional district since 2018, officially announced his campaign for re-election. In a statement, he emphasized the importance of regaining balance in Washington, suggesting that his continued service is vital for the Democratic Party's efforts to reclaim control of the House of Representatives. While I have considered many options for how best to continue serving the people of Maine, I have decided to run for re-election because the surest way to restore balance in Washington is for Democrats to win back the House of Representatives, Golden stated. Golden's re-election bid comes on the heels of a narrow victory in 2024 where he defeated Republican Austin Theriault by a mere 2,500 votes. He faces significant challenges, including competition from former Maine Governor Paul LePage, who has filed to run against him. Golden's district is notable for its complexity. It has historically leaned Republican, having voted for Donald Trump in 3 consecutive elections. Despite this, Golden has successfully built coalitions across party lines, making him a unique candidate capable of representing a diverse electorate. His campaign emphasizes healthcare workers' rights and the protection of Maine's heritage industries, all of which resonate with his constituents. As Golden prepares for a fiercely contested race, he has garnered endorsements from various local leaders and organizations. Jordan Kathleen Burns, his campaign manager, underscored Golden's commitment to representing all constituents, stating, "Jared is a proven winner and the right choice to beat a candidate like Paul LePage and restore checks and balances in Congress." The stakes are high in this district, with Golden's ability to maintain his seat potentially influencing the Democratic Party's overall strategy in national elections. Meanwhile, in Colorado, State Representative Shannon Byrd has entered the race for the 8th congressional district, aiming to unseat Republican Gabe Evans. Byrd, a centrist who has served in the Colorado legislature since 2018, expressed her motivation to run by pointing to perceived threats to democracy and economic stability. "I am running to protect what matters most: our democracy, our economy, and our future," Byrd stated in an interview. Her candidacy adds to a growing list of Democratic contenders seeking to reclaim a district that was previously held by Democrat Yadira Caraveo, who lost to Evans by a narrow margin in the last election. Byrd's campaign is notable for its focus on accessibility and fairness, resonating with voters who feel left behind in the current political climate. She has positioned herself as a candidate of change committed to addressing the needs of her district while standing firmly against the policies of the Trump administration and Republican leadership. Commenting on the competitive nature of the race, Byrd remarked, "I respect everybody who has the courage to put their names forward to stand up for Colorado," indicating her readiness to engage in a robust primary battle. As both Golden and Byrd embark on their respective campaigns, their efforts highlight the ongoing political dynamics that will shape the future of American governance. With the 2026 elections approaching, the stakes are higher than ever, and both candidates are poised to play pivotal roles in their parties' strategies to navigate the complex electoral landscape. Their campaigns will not only reflect personal ambitions but also the broader ideological battles that define contemporary American politics, setting the stage for a consequential electoral cycle. In a significant ruling that reverberates across the immigrant community, the U.S. Supreme Court has allowed the Trump administration to lift deportation protections for approximately 350,000 Venezuelan immigrants currently residing in the United States under the Temporary Protected Status (TPS) program. This decision, which comes amid ongoing debates about immigration policy, could have far-reaching humanitarian and economic implications. On May 19, 2025, the Supreme Court issued an unsigned order permitting the administration to terminate TPS for Venezuelans, a decision that had previously been blocked by a federal judge. The court's ruling is particularly notable for its brevity and lack of explanation, which is customary in emergency applications. Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson dissented, expressing her concern over the potential consequences of such a decision. The TPS program, originally enacted in 1990, allows individuals from countries experiencing extraordinary conditions such as armed conflict or natural disasters to remain in the U.S. without the threat of deportation. Venezuelans had been granted this status due to their country's ongoing humanitarian crisis, which has led to widespread hunger, violence from non-state armed groups, and a collapse of infrastructure. According to the United Nations, nearly 8 million Venezuelans have fled their homeland since the crisis began in 2014. The Trump administration's push to revoke TPS follows a previous extension granted by the Biden administration in light of deteriorating conditions in Venezuela. The administration's legal argument hinged on the assertion that the law governing TPS restricts judicial oversight of executive decisions regarding the program. D. John Sauer, the Solicitor General, stated that the courts should not interfere with the executive branch's assessments of national interests. However, critics of the ruling argue that it represents a historical shift in immigration policy, with a Highland-era Lanantham, a lawyer representing the affected immigrants, labeling it the largest single action stripping any group of non-citizens of immigration status in modern U.S. history. He emphasized the immediate and generational impact this decision could have on individuals and families, many of whom have built lives in the U.S. under the security of TPS. The implications of the ruling extend beyond the Venezuelan community. The Supreme Court has recently dealt with other immigration-related cases, including attempts to deport immigrants from various countries under different legal frameworks. Last week, for instance, the court criticized the Trump administration's attempt to utilize the Alien Enemies Act to swiftly deport immigrants from Texas, highlighting the contentious and often precarious balance of power in immigration enforcement. As the Trump administration continues to pursue its immigration agenda, including plans to terminate protections for Haitian migrants in the coming months, the Supreme Court's recent ruling raises questions about the limits of executive power in shaping immigration policy. This latest decision not only impacts the lives of those directly affected but also sets a precedent for future immigration actions, reflecting the ongoing politicization of the issue. In conclusion, the Supreme Court's decision to allow the Trump administration to lift deportation protections for Venezuelans marks a critical juncture in U.S. immigration policy. As the humanitarian ramifications become clearer, stakeholders from various sectors, legal, economic, and social, will likely continue to grapple with the effects of this ruling. The evolving landscape of immigration law suggests that further legal challenges and policies will emerge, shaping the future of countless individuals seeking refuge and a better life in the United States.